Well, I feel like you can really tell by the dim in the energy levels of all the content creators that we're steadily progressing with the fashion month. Hello, my name is Anastasia and welcome to my YouTube channel. As you have already realized, today we are going to be talking about Milan Fashion Week, meaning we are 3/4 down this whole fashion month lane. And without further ado, because really the energy levels are somewhere down there, let's get right into it. As per usual, I have watched each and every show and have picked the best of the best, the most interesting ones out of them all. Well, that being said, considering my style preferences, however, if you are watching it, they're probably aligned. And without further ado, moving past Diesel and Fendi, because honestly, boring, we are going straight for, surprise surprise, Alberta Ferretti. She is not the one I'm usually talking about here, however, this time around something just caught my attention. Like, I love the warmth of the colors. I also love the heavy dutiness she went for with like the textures, and above all, I absolutely adore this very much so. I just woke up looking cool like that, even in a cocktail dress kind of feel about it. She's probably achieved due to present in, well, literally each and every look. Also, like, rather obvious at that mix of feminine and masculine details. Like, these days I think it's more of a rarity and almost like something belongs to 2010, 2012. Here, like, it seems fittingly. Also, it turns out tame boho can be, quite my thing. And as for the personal favorites, salt and pepper knitwear, also this kind of last year grass shade of green, completely sold the collection. Moving on to the yet another unexpected contender of this fashion week overview, I'm talking Etro by Marco da Vincenzo, and apparently if you add, something dark and something chic to a bohemian brand, it becomes that much more appealing. Because honestly, never have I ever thought we would be here and yet I downright loved at least like a dozen looks of it, which it never happened before. Actually never happened before. But enough my condolences to my previous, well, bohemian hater, I shall say. And let's move on to the collection. It was called Act, and apparently it took its root in the place of, well, frustration the creative director found within himself. I'm gonna quote him here. So, it's that in my role as Etro creative director, I feel torn between authorship and interpretation. It is a constant struggle that sometimes takes an emotional toll, yet it's deeply generative. The masks are a symbolic manifestation of this inner turmoil. Well, I'm pretty sure it's the first time I haven't only seen this amount of, somber colors within the Etro collection, but black. Okay, next we have Max Mara by Ian Griffith, and now yes, it is a very, established in its minimalist, quite luxury waist brand, where, to be completely honest, nothing ever really happens, which is wrong, because I have spied micro shorts on the number of instances. And by the way, if you were looking for a more, refined way to hop onto this particular trend, it is your ticket. And well, I want us all to look at the codes and take some notes, because if there is one brand that does the classy, long-lasting outerwear with a twist like no one else, it is Max Mara. On to the next one, Prada by Miuccia Prada and Raf Simons. And that is where we hit a little bit of a disappointment, because, well, the collection's starting inspiration point was the bow. I'm not sure this is how you draw, but done like in a minimal, not girlish at all, downright plain, kind of Prada-esque weird way, which promptly evolved to a deeper meaning of history, as it usually happens with both Prada and Miu Miu, and basically how each and every lesson the person shall know can be taught by the history. I'm gonna quote Raf Simons here. This is a collection shaped by history. It's not about nostalgia, it is about understanding. Well, I'd say that it is quite a passerby collection. We have already seen the majority of silhouettes, ideas in like the recent seasons, and, well, nothing new and grand is like ready to take up the scene yet. It is a nice filler, but a filler nonetheless. By the way, I do like those new satin sling bags, and you've heard it here first, but I do think that they can become Prada's kind of new it item of the season. Moschino by Adrian Appiolazza. I'm probably butchering it. I promise to pronounce this correctly the next time I do, but that probably is what will end up being a debut of this season. Because, first of all, when was the last time you haven't only like enjoyed a Moschino collection, but also took it seriously? So not just, oh, it's a collection about babies, and Moschino was all about the kids, so lol, but in more like, this is kind of weird, yes, but I see how it's wearable. Wait, do I make sense? I hope I'm making sense. Like, I don't know nearly enough about Adrian's work to make, any comments, but as far as Moschino's DNA goes, he shall get all the pointers, and not only in terms of like the obvious references, as in, the question mark, for instance, but in overall feeling of mocking the fashion industry that, the Moschino brand was originally about. It was ever present. Dare I say, we might have a second Jonathan Anderson on our hands. And also, yes, as I already said, Red Chic is making a comeback. Next, we have Tom Ford by Tom Hawkins. Collection for Paul Atreides, but, on the more serious note, I said it back during New York Fashion Week, and I will repeat myself that consciously or, unconsciously, Dune references are plugging the runways this fall-winter season. Either due to the fact that the designers were kind of betting on, this particular aesthetic to make them better sales along with the premiere, or might be something in the air in terms of visuals. Might also be that it's just me, not me as in just me, but more of people doing those fashion analysis thingies, kind of looking for the references only, to find it, due to my media space being basically full of Dune visuals around the premiere, which is, right now. Meaning that unconsciously I and other people like me will kind of try to apply the same visuals to the other things we are analyzing, like, runway shows, and we'll once again try to find the patterns, because that is how our brains work. We're always trying to find patterns. But I digress. Back to the Hawkins. I personally think that I like the debut collection more. It was more vibrant, had more statements, and like, in comparison, this looks, a little bit like a shadow, in my humble opinion, but nonetheless. The course for the brand is quite understandable. They're going for kind of 90s minimal chic, enveloped in the house codes such as slim trouser suits, leather outerwear, military jackets, and satin evening maxi dresses. GCDS by Giuliano Calza. An unusual one for me once again, but all I could think about while watching the show is cool. Like, how cool is that? And that for me is like a testimony to fashion statement. Even if you cannot exactly relate to this particular aesthetic or you do not see yourself participating in it, you can still look at it and appreciate the moment and realize how cool and how much of a statement it is, basically. To me, it's giving a teenage academy of angels, demons, vampires, like you name it, which totally makes sense considering the inspiration behind the collection. In a nutshell, it's a feeling of nostalgia from the childhood brought back through a particular form of joy, like we both used to back then and also now get from watching horror movies. Hence the amount of references to the said horror movies, because yes, these are Hello Kitty flower details, and yes, you're looking at good guy's hammer clutch, and also yes, it's a Chucky back over there. I mean, creepy office siren should really become a thing right now. Gucci by Sabato de Sarno. Have I mentioned last year grass, kind of green, becoming the color of choice for the It Girlies next year? Because it will, if only for the fact that after Gucci's Ancora Red Drive, brand will still have this kind of lingering sway over what crowds want, and while there, as in Gucci, choice of color will still impact us, people. Besides that, the new vision for the brand is kind of becoming a tad more clear. I mean, like the previous shows, it is still minimal, 90s, quite luxury, yada yada, but this time around some new tweaks were added, like the Prada's boxy jackets and, overall weird fashion appeal taking its root, which Alberta kind of tapped his toe a little bit in the previous collection, but it wasn't this majorly present. And speaking of which, Gucci not only taking its place within, but also kind of leading the whole niche of cool geek chic in the future, because it suits them. It really does, and who knows, maybe they will take all of the leadership from the Miu Miu here. We shall see about that. As for the main selling point, accessories of the exploration of platforms is still going strong, but it was also joined with an attempt of over-the-knee boot comeback. Mini Jody bag, while still present, left the majority of the scene, or felt so at least to me, to other minis. My personal favorite being the vanity bag. Next we have MSGM by Massimo Giorgetti, and the amount of textures they have thrown into just one collection is whoa. Honestly, and together with the color palette, how can I even say no? I mean, she's Londoner by the daytime, Parisian by night, New Yorker while wearing black, and all of it is shown in Milan. The description given by Massimo to Vogue only fits this kind of narrative, and in a nutshell, it's not quite Oscar de la Renta woman that he designed for previously, but her daughter stealing her wardrobe. I mean, I'm not that woman yet, but I'm striving to. I really do. Versace by Donatella Versace. And did someone say of a siren? Because we do have all the codes here, albeit with more punk than, originally intended, but maybe it's her new vision for the next year. The amount of reds and grays absolutely could not make me happier. Also, something I expected for me personally is that chocolate brown fits rather nicely into this red and gray color palette, which I haven't thought about before, but it's something I am ready to start exploring this spring basically already. Anyway, as per designer, this collection was made for rebel girls and shy genius boys. I would personally accost it to like the amount of teenage drama going round and about. All in all, less usual slinky sexy, more cool girl. But mini skirt with strip leggings, no. Oh, wonders of living in the downtown where the cars are beeping all the damn time, and the fact that I live on the last floor do not help at all. The sunlight doesn't give us many options, so we will have to continue with Marni by Francesco Riso. Unexpectedly enough, guys went less aggressive on the print front. There is still like a whole lot of cheetah print, but not nearly as much as usual. And they also went kind of heavy duty with architecturesque, more sculptural looks. Also set on minimal styling, like that is the first for them. In a nutshell, all of it was more than enough for me to stop and went like, hey, actually, Marni is an interesting one. Also, can we just, have a moment for those watercolors imitating garments, because they absolutely deserve it. Once again, even if it's not something you're going to be wearing, which I will not, they're stunning. I would absolutely love to see them on the red carpets. Ferragamo by Maximilian Davis. Here comes probably my favorite show of the whole Milan Fashion Week, and while, the main trends are obviously the same, we have Office Siren aesthetic, we have last year grass green, we have over-the-knee boots, which I feel like wholly made a comeback by the end of the Milan Fashion Week. Minimal chic appeal. The devil is always in the details. Like, for instance, those mermaid dresses, but let's play with this semi-sheer element and let's do it, completely different for each and every one of them. Or unexpected color combinations, like red and brown is something I am actively looking forward to trying out for myself. Don't even let me start on the leather goods. It was goddamn amazing. Dolce&Gabbana, and shall I say that the guys are absolutely thriving within the mop wife aesthetic, and you know, rightfully so, because why would they not? Well, the huge golden polka dots were, you know, an obvious overkill. The rest is a good old Dolce from the 90s, and until they stay within this particular time frame and don't do any crazy stuff they were famous for in the 2000s, I'm good. Jil Sander by Luke and Lucy Mayer, merry world of bold colors and even bolder forms of experimentation we have on our hands, and I cannot believe I'm saying it as a neutral girly, but this is so amazing. Like, in a nutshell, the inspiration behind was their attempts to envelope and like physically embody the effect of comfort. And I mean, I guess in terms of materials that can be true. There are a lot of quilts, furs, knitwear, like these silhouettes are also made really round, or at least on the softer side too, but honestly, for the life of me, will I never pack the flame red color to be a comforting one. Bottega Veneta by Matthew Blazy. I always am rooting for when the designer takes, you know, not the unusual, but the very basic, like everyday fashion in this particular case, form of inspiration and somehow turns it into something interesting and actually worthy of a whole collection in its name. And I also really enjoyed this quote that was used to describe the above mentioned inspiration by Matthew Blazy himself. The initial idea was to reduce the collection to utmost the function of clothes, only reduced not to the minimum but to a maximum. I was interested in making a monument out of the everyday. With that being said, Mr. Blazy served my favorite kind of chic, minimal, but with a twist. Although I must admit that this season it's also a tad more whimsical, which I'm surprisingly not opposed to. Like, quite colorful too. We've got deep reds, we've got ochre yellows, once again last year grass green, some oranges, some limes, browns, all the jazz. Once again, might my word, but I have a feeling that cocoon silhouette, well, basically everything, to be completely honest, like the coats, the jackets, the sweaters, will be the next big thing. With that being said, we came to the end of the Milano Fashion Week, and let's pick the favorites. I feel like it's quite a no-brainer in terms of both Ferragamo and Bottega Veneta, obviously taking 2 positions, and as for the third one, oh yeah, GCDS by Juliana Calza, because I do not remember the last time I have got such a huge serotonin boost out of looking at something I cannot exactly relate to, but enjoying it nonetheless. And with that being said, we came to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed, you can subscribe to this channel or something. Also leave me a like, check out my other social medias if you like the vibes, and other than that, I'll see you in the next one. So bye bye.